Well, that footage has been released by the IDF. It captures a building being destroyed in an explosion on a coastal road in northwest Gaza. The IDF is continuing with its ground and air attacks on Hamas positions and says it's operating inside Gaza to ensure the safe return of 239 hostages.
Our war is with Hamas. It is not with the people of Gaza. From IDF intelligence, we know that the area is teeming with terrorists, that Hamas is embedded in civilian buildings, that there is a wide underground network of tunnels. There's an entire city under al-Shati, one dedicated to terrorism. The fighting will be intense. It is complex urban warfare, but it is necessary to protect the people of Israel, to ensure that the massacre of October 7 can never be repeated, to bring the hostages home.
The IDF says it will continue striking the terrorists that carried out the inhumane massacre on October 7. It also claims there's evidence of Hamas using a children's hospital basement as an armoury.
In a basement was supposed to be a basement for children to hide in. Hamas took all this area under his control and conducted his war against Israelis from this hospital. These are serious gear that even take a risk for the patients inside the hospital. These are explosive, these are bomb vests that you see in the film here. For terrorists to hold a bomb vest on them in a children's hospital, next to hostages.
The IDF has shared vision of a walkthrough of one of the underground terrorist tunnels, which ends up inside a hospital. This is where the IDF says Hamas terrorists hide, operate and hold Israeli hostages against their will.
I'm here in Gaza City. We are here next to a house of a terrorist. This is one of the senior terrorists who is the head of the operational naval operations that led the raids into Israel. His house is right next to a school. His house is 200 yards from the hospital of Rantisi. Next to his house, there is a tunnel. You can see the tunnel. The tunnel is let down more than 20 meters down. The rowboat found a door that is bulletproof. It's explosives proof, so it looks like a hard evidence, a clear evidence that the hospital direction is connected. We are now in the area of the basement of the hospital. You're now entering into the room where we suspect the hostages were being held. I want you to look at this room. People are putting curtains with nothing above, just wall. No reason to put here a curtain unless you want to film hostages and deliver movies. And now we'll show you more evidence. In this room, there is a list. This list, in Arabic, this list says we are in an operation. The operation against Israel started in the 7th of October. This is a Guardian list where every terrorist writes his name and every terrorist has his own shift guarding the people that were here.
Fighting between Israeli troops and Hamas militants is escalating on the ground in northern Gaza, prompting residents to flee south. It comes as Israel continues to trade fire with Hezbollah along the border with Lebanon.
Israeli forces ramping up airstrikes on the Gaza Strip as ground troops push deeper into northern Gaza. Much of the fighting is taking place around the al-Shifa hospital, one of the several medical facilities in need of supplies and fuel. Israeli forces say they opened an evacuation corridor outside the hospital and offered fuel to help power generators. But the health ministry inside Gaza reportedly refused that delivery.
The Hamas leadership through the Hamas health ministry is stopping and putting pressure on the hospital not to come and pick it up.
Some Western leaders continue pushing for temporary breaks in fighting to allow for wider distribution of aid. But so far, Israeli leaders have only agreed to brief daily pauses. Over the weekend, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu once again rejected international calls for a ceasefire until all of the hostages are released.
It's a result of pressure, military pressure, the extraordinary work that the IDF is doing. That's the one thing that might create a deal.
Meanwhile, fighting is escalating in Israel's north with the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. Israeli leaders say one civilian was killed Sunday in an anti-tank guided missile attack. It's renewing fears Israel could be drawn into a larger conflict.
And it's a threat that is not taken lightly by the Israeli defense forces. And so this is something that the Israelis, I predict, will remain focused on for the foreseeable future.